Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss about Glasgow Coma Scale. So before we go into GCS, otherwise called as Glasgow Coma Scale, we need to know what coma means. Coma means impaired consciousness. So severely impaired consciousness is what is called as coma. So these patients are called as to be in comatose. So GCS was described in the year 1974 by Tesdale and Jennett. So why they did this was they needed a coma score as a practical method to assess the impairment of consciousness. So they wanted to assess the extent of impairment of consciousness, and that had to be done in a very easy manner so that there will be less interpersonal variability. So, in order to have less interpersonal variability, they they described this Glasgow Coma Scale. So, what are the components of Glasgow Coma Scale? The Glasgow Coma Scale takes three things into consideration. One is the eye opening, then we have the verbal response, then we have the best motor response. So all these three things are taken into consideration. So how exactly do we assess the GCS? First, we have to check whether the patient is having any factor interfering with communication. You have to rule out any factor interfering with communication. Like, for example, a patient may be deaf or dumb or visual impairment or may have paralysis of any form. So all these can interfere with the examining and they can interfere with communication. And second, they you have to know the ability of the patient to respond, as the same sequences can come. For example, the patient may be deaf or dumb, and that can limit his ability to respond. Thirdly, we have to rule out other injuries. So all these things should be checked on first hand, and then we are going to observe. So while coming to observation, we have to know about his eye opening, as I had told earlier, then about the content of speech, how intelligent his speech is or how appropriate his speech is. And thirdly, we have to observe whether movements are there on both sides. So bilateral movements has to be taken into consideration. So in order to assess, we need to give stimuli. First sort of stimuli would be sound. So sound, either it could be speech, or if he doesn't respond to speech, we have to shout. So both these are done. And the second thing is, if the patient is not responding to sound, then a physical stimuli has to be given. This physical stimuli is pressure. Remember, this physical stimuli is only pressure and not pain, and this should be given over the fingertips or over the trapezius or over the supraorbital notch. So these are the three places where the physical pressure can be given. Remember, this pressure should be only pressure and not pain, as with a needle or anything that is going to hurt or injure the patient. So now coming into the components, the first thing we are going to discuss is the eye opening. So maximal score of 4 and a minimal score of 1. So 4 would be for spontaneous eye opening. If the eye opening is going to be spontaneous, it is a score of 4. That is, he opens before the stimulus. If he opens it to sound, either a speech or a shouted request, that is going to be 3. So if it is going to be pressure to any of the areas I had told earlier, then the score is 2. If there is no response in the absence of an interfering factor, then that is going to be 1. If there were to be an interfering factor, like for example, patient is deaf, dumb, or patient is having a jaw injury, that is facial injury restricting the eye movement. So all this can interfere with him opening eyes. So all this will interfere with him opening eyes. So a leaf-foot fracture or a deaf-dumb patient or with severe facial injuries, lead edemas, all these can limit the eye opening. So this is, if either of this factor is present, we use the term called as NT or non-testable. So this is non-testable. Is it clear? Then we go into the verbal response. So in verbal response, there are totally maximal score of 5 and a minimal score of 1. So 5, patient will have a oriented speech, as into name, place, and date. So that is going to be 5. 4 is going to be a confused speech. That is, he will be disoriented. But communication will be coherent. 3, he will utter only words. For 3, he is going to utter only words, and these words will be intelligible. So this is very important. Then 2 would be only sounds, response only in the form of sounds, as in groaning or moaning to pain. So that is 2, and no response would be 1. So again, if some factor were to be there which interferes with communication. So if some factor were there which interferes with communication, then you call it as NT. For example, here we are checking the verbal response. So a mandible fracture will certainly restrict the mouth opening, or any other facial injury, or if the patient is deaf and dumb again. So all these factors will interfere with the communication skills. So in that situation, we use this term called as NT. Now coming to the best motor response, the maximal score is 6, which means patient is obeying commands. So obeying a 2-part command is going to be 6. 5, patient will localize pain. So I told you we are going to give stimuli in the supraorbital notch, and if the patient is able to raise his hands over the clavicle, that is over the neck, then and he is able to localize it, it is given a score of 5. 4 would be normal flexor response, and 3 would be abnormal flexion. Now, what is the difference between 4 and 3? That is, both will flex at elbow. Both will flex at elbow, but the difference is here the thumbs and the fingers will all be normal, whereas here the thumb and the fingers will also be flexed. So that is the difference. Then we have abnormal extension, which means both the extremities will be in extension, and if there is no response, then that is going to be called as 1. So herein, if there is no response, there will be no interfering factor. Interfering factor means paralysis in any form. For example, a neck injury where all the upper limb and the lower limb on both sides are weak, but patient is still conscious. In such a situation, we have to mark it as non-testable. So NT is non-testable. Then finally, we need to know what is meant by GCS PA prognostic chart. GCS PA prognostic chart is nothing but to predict the probability of outcome in a patient with severe traumatic brain injury. So this is based on patient's admission GCS, his pupil reactivity, his age, and his CT scan findings. So CT scan findings, it could be either no abnormality or one abnormality or two or more abnormalities. So it can be either of these. By abnormalities, we mean ICH or subarachnoid hemorrhage or absence of basal cisterns. So these are what we call it as CT scan abnormalities. So before ending, we need to know what we mean by GCS P score means. P will stand for pupillary abnormality. Okay, so P will stand for pupillary abnormality. So let's say a patient is having a GCS of 14 and you have two pupils, right and left. Right is reacting to light, left is not reacting to light. So we subtract the GCS and the number of pupils that is not reacting. So here in this case, it is going to be 14 minus 1. So the score will be 13. So that is what is called as GCS P score. So normally the GCS will vary between 3 to 15. The GCS P score will vary between 1 to 15. So this will summarize what we need to know about GCS. Thank you.